Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Evelyn and I'm 45 years old. I'm about to share the story of the time I spent with my son's friend. We shared moments in the car at home. And in places you wouldn't even imagine. Trust me, you'll be shocked. Get ready and let me tell you everything. I've been married to my husband Richard for over 25 years. In the beginning, everything was wonderful. We laughed, shared intimacy, and felt the joy of building a family. But over the years, I felt the connection between us slipping away. Richard became distant. He stopped touching me, stopped saying loving words. And most of the time, he didn't even notice I was there. I felt the loneliness growing deeper. Sometimes I felt like a ghost in my own home. The only light in my life was my son Ethan. His energy and joy kept me going. But recently something changed. Ethan's best friend Lucas started visiting more often. Lucas is 23. He is athletic, charming, and incredibly captivating. At first, his presence reminded me of the energy and excitement I used to feel when I was younger. Over time, I realized he didn't see me as just a regular host. The way he looked at me felt different. For the first time in years, I felt alive again. One day, Richard and Ethan left town for a few days. Lucas stayed behind. One evening, he stopped by and asked if I needed help with anything. We ended up sitting together, drinking coffee and talking. That conversation became one of the most honest ones I've had in years. I told him everything, how Richard had grown distant, how I felt lonely, and how I didn't know what to do anymore. Lucas listened to every word. That night I was amazed by how kind and understanding he was. The way he looked at me made me feel seen. For the first time in forever. When our hands touched, it felt like time stopped. It was such a small moment, but it filled a void I didn't even know was there. When he offered to stay, part of me hesitated. The other part had already decided. That night Lucas and I talked for hours. I opened up to him completely. I told him about the emptiness in my life and the passion I hadn't felt since I was young. The way Lucas listened, the respect and care in his eyes, moved me deeply. He wasn't just a listener, he felt like a friend. But there was a pull between us that went beyond friendship. Lucas slept on the couch that night, and I went to my bedroom. But when I closed my eyes, all I could see was his face. The next morning, as I was making breakfast, Lucas appeared in the kitchen. With a warm smile he said, "Good morning, Evelyn. That smells amazing." As I smiled back, I realized my heart was racing faster than it had in years. For the next few days, Lucas kept stopping by. He knew I was alone until Ethan and Richard returned, so he stayed around to keep me company and help out. But with each passing day, the distance between us grew smaller. One afternoon, as we sat in the backyard drinking tea, Lucas said, "Evelyn, you know I'm really drawn to you, don't you?" I was surprised, but I also felt a rush of excitement. I didn't know what to say, so I just looked down. Then Lucas reached for my hand and whispered, "You're an incredible woman, and I need you to know that." That moment was a turning point. With a burst of courage, I didn't pull my hand away. I stopped worrying about whether it was right or wrong. I listened to my heart, and from that moment on, our relationship became something much more than friendship. Lucas made me feel special and desired in a way I hadn't felt in years. But this new bond didn't just bring happiness. It also brought an inner struggle. I was constantly torn between right and wrong. My marriage to Richard was overshadowed by my connection with Lucas. Yet every time I looked at Lucas, I couldn't deny the reality of the moments we shared. One day Lucas and I took a small trip out of town. Felt like an escape for me. As we walked along the beach, Lucas held my hand and said, "When I'm with you, nothing else matters. Just us." My eyes filled with tears. His words reminded me of something I had forgotten for so long. How love and care could heal a person. This was just the beginning. The bond between Lucas and me grew deeper with each passing day. But there was also a growing fear inside me. What would happen if Ethan found out? Would Richard start to suspect something? At this confusing point in my life, I didn't know what to do. The only thing I was sure of was that every moment I spent with Lucas brought me back to life. The time I spent with Lucas that day at the beach outside the city was unforgettable. The soothing sound of the ocean, the light breeze, and the connection between us. Everything felt like I was in a dream, but it was time to head back. As we got in the car and started driving home, I felt a strange sense of calm mixed with excitement. Lucas was driving and I was in the passenger seat. The mixed music echoed through the car, matching our quiet. Throughout the drive, Lucas would glance at me from time to time, smiling and saying, "Today was really great, Evelyn." In those moments, I couldn't help but feel my heart racing. At one point, Lucas pulled the car over to a quiet spot on the side of the road. "Should we stop here for a bit?" he asked. When I saw that warm look in his eyes, I knew exactly what he meant. I couldn't answer, so I just nodded slightly. The silence in the car spoke louder than words. Lucas gently reached out and took my hand. In that moment, all my thoughts scattered. The closeness we shared was hard to put into words. Lucas made me feel so valued and desired, filling a piece of me that had been missing for a long time. Everything that happened in those moments flowed naturally. Without rush, Lucas was gentle and understanding with every move he made. There was a connection between us that I had never felt before. It wasn't just physical, it was something deeper. It was a moment where I truly felt loved and wanted. During this brief pause, something touched both of our souls. Those minutes in the car were etched into my memory as an experience I would never forget. When I looked at Lucas, I could see in his eyes that he felt the same way about me. It was as if the world had stopped and it was just the two of us. As we restarted the car and headed home, I felt both a sense of peace and a hint of guilt. But with Lucas's hand in mind, I decided not to let the magic of the moment fade. These moments were just ours and no one could take them from us. What happened in the car that day marked a turning point for both of us. When we got home, Lucas's gaze hadn't changed. He was still looking at me with the same warmth, the same desire, and the same admiration. But after that night, our relationship deepened. Lucas didn't just get physically closer to me. He made me feel like he truly understood me. Richard was still lost in his own world. I was filling the void in his life with Lucas's presence. But what I had with Lucas wasn't just a coincidence or a fling. He reminded me of something I had forgotten for years. That it's never too late to feel alive, to be loved, and to be desired. With every meeting, Lucas brought me a little closer back to life. The time we spent together felt like hidden little miracles in the middle of an ordinary day. His touch, the gentle words he whispered, how special he made me feel. These weren't just physical attractions. They were signs of a deep connection. Our story wasn't a typical love story. It was an adventure full of impossibilities. When I was with him, I forgot all my past regrets and lived in the moment. Yes, I don't know where this story is going. Maybe one day it will end, or maybe it will last forever. But one thing I'm sure of. Lucas brought back feelings I had forgotten. We still meet secretly from time to time. When Richard isn't home, Lucas comes over. And in those moments, it feels like the whole world exists only for us. Does this relationship scare me? Of course, but it also gives me something that makes me feel alive. Some nights when I lie alone in my bed, I wonder what the future might hold. But when morning comes, I think of how special Lucas makes me feel. And all my fears fade away. Maybe I'm not doing the right thing. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm truly alive. In the end, we all live just to feel, right? And Lucas showed me just how powerful those feelings can be. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.